You did something.
Okay, can you see anything?
I just saw something happen in the background. I think we're live-ish. I'm just doing back end stuff.
Okay.
I think I spelled that all right. If I spelled it wrong, I will fix it later.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So I think we are live. I'm just going to go over to YouTube and check it out. So you may hear a double thing. Oh, I forgot. I have too many YouTubes.
I know.
Okay, I think we're
Um,
good because it looks like we're live on the back end. I'm gonna go with that.
I was just looking for the actual daggone channel.
Yeah, I was having a problem finding this channel.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we're
Okay. All right.
all right. So I think we're good. This is our first time using this software, so for lives, so it's a little
Yeah.
bit confusing.
Well, at least we
And
figured
now
out
I've lost
how.
Riverside. There it is. I found Riverside. Hello, hello.
Hello. We are rolling
Thankfully,
today.
thankfully nobody's actually subscribed to this channel, so nobody's watching us be really
I
bumpy as we
know.
attempt to get this going.
I mean, usually, so the people know, usually when we go live, we're going live on YouTube via StreamYard. But this is the first time that we have successfully been able to go live using our studio called Riverside FM. So this is the first for having that go through without a problem.
Yeah.
Yay! Okay, great.
Oh, and we're working.
Well, I want to see it working. Send me the link so I can see it working. Good. Why can't I find things? Oh, because
I
is
don't
it
know
one
why you
word?
can't do things. I'm not in charge of you.
I know. I don't know what's happening. Oh, that's not it. That sent me down a weird rabbit hole just now. Oof, yikes. Okay, well, at least we
Okay.
figured that out. I'm happy about that.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that
We're
works
here.
now. Hello. How are you?
I'm happy because we're being so productive today and we've gotten a lot done. So I'm excited.
we have
And I'm
gotten a
excited
lot
about this
done.
discussion.
I'm blasting this out. Just did I write foul? I did.
Oh, there we are.
Did you see my mistake? You made a
I closed
foul
it
of
out.
breath. I,
Oh,
I I spelled instead of fool foul. Anyway, hi. Hi.
here we are.
Welcome. Welcome to the
Welcome,
shit
folks.
show.
Welcome, folks. Welcome to the live that we didn't tell you was happening
Yeah.
on purpose.
So,
uh,
uh,
so
yeah, if you haven't noticed, we did switch over to TBR Lowdown having its own channel. So this is the first video that's going to even be on the channel, and
yeah,
we will make a playlist and link it somewhere so that you can see all the backlog that's sitting on my channel. But
right.
this is going to be the new home for TBR Lowdown. I think
Yes.
we were hesitant to commit to its own channel in the beginning, but it is time. It is time for TBR Lowdown to have its own
Branch
little
out and
space.
have their own YouTube home.
It's growing up. We're growing up.
Oh,
And we're
oh
here
man.
to talk about this wonderful book that we read for November. And it's not you made a
Yes.
foul. We are not making any chickens. You made a fool of death with your beauty. I fixed that title in the just for the video.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, do you want to kick us off first with what you're reading or what you just finished or any of that?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of another chunker. Our
I haven't
share of
even
night.
started that yet. I feel you're
I
making me
know.
feel
Well, because you've
bad.
just gotten over Nano. So
Yeah.
this is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, translated from the Spanish by Mega McDowell. This is out now in the UK. This comes out in the US, I believe, sometime in February.
Mhm.
However, Alyssa and I could not wait until then, so we got copies from the United
Yeah.
Kingdom. So that's
Not
that.
that I've started it, but I couldn't wait, so I
I
already
mean,
have
I
it.
I'm only 100 pages in, but man, this is like it's interesting. So we've got what's the father's name? Do I remember the father's name? We'll call him
I
father until
don't
I
know.
remember it. So we got a father, and he has a son who's 6, and the son's name is Gasper. The mother has just died, and so they are on a trek to go to the mother's sister's home. I think her name is, I forgot her name too. Anyway, the father is a medium, and he can commune with things, and it was a fear of his and the wife's that the son would have it too. And so
Mhm.
he's just discovered that the son also can commune with the dead. And it's terrifying to him because the order, the powers that be, the order will now be after the son Gasper. And so um, the father has had some health issues all his life. He's had like a lot of surgeries. He's recently just recovered from a huge surgery, and so there's a lot of talk about him being in pain and all these things he's dealing with his body, and he's under a lot of pressure to train his son and to teach his son how to basically control these communications and these sightings with the dead. And also, he's trying to protect him from the order at the same time, he's also trying to commune with his dead wife. There's a lot happening, and you feel the stress from the father. He has these random thoughts every now and then of, I should just leave Gasper here, basically on the side of the road, let someone else pick him up. He'll be safer with someone else, maybe. Or we just ran through these nice people. Perhaps I'll just leave my son here with them and they can raise him. And he doesn't have to deal with any of the stuff with the order and his gifts and abilities and all of this. It's just very, very interesting. And it's all of the backdrop of this dictatorship, and there's already a lot of queerness happening. There's also um, a, a, a deep love between the father and his sister-in-law, which is kind of complicated. And I'm only 100 pages in, so I'm still finding things out, but so far I'm really, really invested in what is happening and the order and these gifts that the father and the son have. It's all quite interesting. So, yeah, I'm loving it. Our share of night. This is all I can
I
say about it because I'm not. I mean, look, it's like an 800-page book, 700-page book.
I have to
So,
get into it. I'll get into it. I'm
yeah.
coming back to sort of normal now that Nano's over. So, I have recently-ish read, and I'm going to shamelessly plug. So for my Discord, which is sort of part of and parcel of my Patreon, we have a little monthly book club, and the club pick was Dog Flowers by Danielle
Mm,
Geller. And we had a nice a little discussion over there while we were reading it. And I just wanted to quickly say, I don't want to say too much because, that's the point of the Patreon, but this was a really interesting memoir and a very moving memoir about so that our author, her mother is she has two alcoholic parents. Her father is abusive and kind of goes in and out of having a home or not having a home. They're kind of um she's got like very it's a very sad situation with her parents. um she's got a sister that is also addicted to alcohol and some
mm,
drugs and stuff like that. And our author is the eldest sibling. So there's a lot of things that are dealing with being the eldest sibling in this family that is kind of a mess, and being the one who's trying to like kind of keep it all together, be the adult, all those things that you think
yeah.
about when you're the old having to be the oldest sibling and the things you have to struggle with in that role. But also right in the beginning, the story starts because her mother dies. She attempts to get sober and ends up dying as a side effect of trying to become sober. I think she like has a seizure and then some other stuff happens and she dies. And after her death, she ends up finding these suitcases that are filled with notebooks and diaries and letters and pictures that were all of her all her mother's. So the memoir just takes this shape, and you get the pictures and stories and stuff throughout. So throughout the memoir, there'll be little footnotes where the author is telling you about the thing that occurred, and you get like what her mom wrote in her diary that day or something for the same memory. So it's a really interesting look at like how do we remember stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is and you can see how different people remember events or catalog events differently. You see what it's like to grow up in a family that has to deal with like domestic violence, but also alcoholism.
Mm.
Um, there's a whole storyline around being indigenous and having been separated from your roots as an indigenous person and sort of finding your way back to being an indigenous, like those indigenous roots. And it's just a very interesting memoir, and what I liked the best about it was the prose itself. It's very
Mm.
literary, it's very, it would make for very, I feel like I would like her to write fiction. I would like to see her fiction work based on the way that she writes nonfiction.
Yeah.
And I believe she's also a professor that teaches nonfiction, so I think she
Mm.
very much writes nonfiction literature, but the way she writes makes me want to see what she would do if you took like off that constraint of having it be real and
Right.
make it fiction. So it's definitely I know I saw it making the rounds in the last like few months on Instagram. It's a beautiful cover. It's a very interesting book. I've got some highlights in here. It's very moving. It's very sad. Um, and definitely something that if you've seen it in passing and you're like, I don't know what that is, read it. Just read it. It's really good.
That sounds good. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a few people talk about that book. All
It's
good things
very
to say about it. All good
yeah,
things.
yeah, and I mean, I think that there are things I maybe would have liked to have read more of in the story, but maybe that will be part of another book that she writes. You know, this is what it is as a memoir about essentially like finding yourself and your mother and your all these other things. But yeah, it was very very well done, and I enjoyed it. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
somebody picked that out so that we would read it, because otherwise I would just keep looking at it online and not read
Right.
it.
And like, yeah, what is that? Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
So
Well,
let's switch gears and
we're
talk about
totally switching gears.
my love, my love, my beautiful love of a man,
Oh boy. You made a
Naomi.
fool of death with your beauty by Akwaeke Emezi.
Naomi, I want my own.
What a book.
Where is my talented, smart, attractive, sexy, wealthy silver fox who wants to go to therapy without any, you know,
And who
arm
calls you
twisting?
sweetness?
Yes,
Who calls you sweetness?
cooks you amazing food, even though half the food he made in this book I'm allergic to and would have killed me. I don't care. I'm like, I will have my throat closed for you, sir.
Yeah.
Do
It
you want
was
to? It,
quite romantic.
it was.
Yeah. So our main character Faye, she is really still reeling from the loss of her husband who died tragically. It's been what 5 years,
Mhm.
and she lives with her best friend Joy, who was my favorite characters.
She's funny. I like her.
Joy's my favorite. Everyone needs a Joy in their life.
Mhm.
And she's out on the dating scene, and Joy is encouraging her to, get some sexy time and really just, live her life and begin to try to really get over some of the grief and to live a little more and to not feel so guilty about living more. And Faye starts a friendship with a gentleman who then takes her back to his home where he grew up. And this is where she meets his father. And things kind of
The get steamy.
burn so hot with desire from there. We'll just say that. So let's talk about the opening scene, shall we? Because the opening scene of the book
Happening scene when she bangs a dude in the bathroom.
quite steamy. I mean, we waste no time getting to the steam phase and a a club of some sorts.
She
She meets a
grows so
guy.
much from here that I'm like, you know what? That's a different Faye. She's in a different book.
It's but it's important. It's
It is
important.
important. And I think
Yeah.
that it's so she meets a guy and basically like takes him to the bathroom and bangs him, right?
Mhm.
And um that guy also happens she has like the thing.
Well, they end up becoming F buddies.
Yeah.
They end up becoming F buddies. Yeah.
And there's no real feelings. And sometimes that's what you need is a good F buddy
Exactly.
and to get through some things that you're going through. But
Exactly.
this guy gets her is the reason why she meets what's his face, whose name is
Right.
escaping me.
Yeah, mine
Nasir.
too. Yes.
Nasir. So
Yes.
Nasir is one of his friends, and
Mhm.
he kind of hits on her, and he really pursues her. I mean, she's
Hard.
pretty clear with him from the beginning that she's like, I really first of all, it's weird because I'm banging your friend,
Mhm.
and two, like I'm not that girl. I'm not the one you want. Like
Right.
I have my own baggage. Like get just no.
I'm not seeking what you're seeking. You're seeking
Yeah.
something serious and long term. I'm not.
I want to bang a dude in the bathroom. Like I
Right.
don't. Yeah. So, but he stays, and she allows it, and I think she finds comfort in him and the security of him in the sort of blurred lines of between friendship and at least F buddies. Because they never do anything
They
outside of
never seal the deal.
sort of like canoodling a little bit of
Mhm.
kissing, a little bit of heavy petting, like snuggly stuff, but never anything like full on.
Right.
Um, and like I guess you could argue that she leads him on, but I don't think that she does because I think
I
she
don't
makes
think
it
so.
quite clear. I think that he confuses her. And I think when you have a lot of stuff going on and I think you and I have both experienced our own forms of becoming single um after formerly not being
Mhm.
it is not uncommon for people whether they're widowed or divorced or whatever it is to be confused and to be easily I don't know, manipulated almost.
Okay,
You
so did you take that as her being manipulated? Because I didn't.
I don't know, I feel like he genuinely really wanted her, and I think that she genuinely enjoyed his friendship, but I don't
Mhm.
think that he ever truly listened to her because she makes it clear. And then he kinda keeps going, and then eventually it's almost like she breaks down and she's like, "Alright, well, like, maybe."
So he does listen to her. He just still thinks I can wear her down.
But is
He
that
heard
listening to wait, but is that listening to somebody? Is it listening to somebody if
yes,
I say,
I heard
"But
you. I heard you,
no,
but
that's
I'm
you
still
heard
making
somebody. That's not you're listening to them."
but
You he still thinks that's like the frat boy that's like gonna turn the lesbian. Like, you're not gonna turn her. She told you no. Maybe
she
you'll get her
did.
confused, and I think that he gets her confused because I think ultimately she really does want what Nasir as like a is giving, but not from Nasir.
From right, not from
That's the
him.
problem. She doesn't want it from him. And
I don't think at that point she knew she wanted that at all.
I felt like to me it's like I don't know what you did after your divorce, but like when you
I had
date
a freaking party.
but like, you know, you can go through a series of like people that you know you're not going to have relationships with. And then
Yes.
there's people that like you should be in a relationship with this person. Like objectively, like this is a good choice. Like you can put it all on paper and you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, I should be saying yes to this. And either you just go no, or maybe you say like kind of yes, but you're not, in your heart that it's not going to work. And I feel like that's what she did with Nasir. And I feel like he found a way to dangle something in front of her.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that he was bad or anything. I feel like you can have outcomes that aren't fantastic without having malicious intent. But I feel like he really wanted her. An opportunity arose where he could get her and do something like a big gesture where she should end up really like this is the
Mhm.
moment, right? Like this is the thing
Mhm.
that should seal the deal, bringing her to this beautiful paradise,
Mhm.
getting her this whole thing
Amazing
with her
opportunity.
amazing opportunity in the art world. And he's expecting that. He's expecting something on that.
He's
He
expect This is the
expects
problem.
her to do something, and she said she doesn't want that. Like, I'm sorry. I do think that he manipulated her a little bit.
I
I
just
just because he didn't intend doesn't mean that there wasn't.
I mean, maybe okay, yes. So there is some slight manipulation. Yes, there is. I and again, I just think it's men wanting what the hell they want
But the
and
father's not like
believing.
that.
Well, yeah, but and like believing and believing that if he hangs in there long enough, that eventually her mind or her feelings will change.
Mm,
But I still think at that point, I still think that Faye was so tied up in her grief that she didn't have any awareness that she wanted something serious. And maybe felt a little guilty about not being able to move on the way maybe others around her thought she should be moving on.
maybe.
That's kind of how I felt about it.
I don't know.
But
I think there's something real sneaky about you sitting around, like her being like, I don't. It's not what I'm here for. And then there was that one scene before they leave where like she kisses him for the first time, and I felt like that was her kind of giving in a little bit
that was her
to.
feeling guilty of
Yeah, and I think
taking
that's.
something
But
that
I
she
think
maybe felt
that.
like she didn't deserve because they weren't really in a relationship.
But I feel like I really just I do. I feel like he manipulated her. I whether that was his intent or not, I feel like he manipulated her.
Well, let's call it that then. That seems
Well, you
fitting.
don't have to agree with me. It's just I think
I
that he
don't know what
manipulated
else to
her. And then
call it.
I think that I mean, yes, if the girl you've been trying to get with gets with your dad, it's very upsetting. However, his response to that was so aggressive. Not just like like aggressive. And some of that is because he's probably his whole pride is wounded, not just because you got like he put in all this work and didn't get anything, but his dad just had to like exist and gets you.
But also, his response was not coming from a place of reality. It was coming from a place of his expectation of what he
Exactly,
thought
because
things
he
were
was
going to
manipulating
be.
her.
But whether he was manipulating her or not, I still think that he was willing to just wait it out. He was willing to be the friend,
Yeah,
right? He was willing
he
to be the
friend zoned it
friend.
himself.
Exactly. And just wait it out and just see that things would change. I think that whether or not he dangled anything in front of her, he still would have waited it out with the hopes of she'll see I'm a good guy, I'm a nice guy, and her feelings will change. I
But
think
like
he would have wrote it out regardless.
you can be a good guy, but that doesn't mean that the girl you want to date you is going to date you.
But he's a man. He's not hearing that.
I understand that's why incels
He's not
exist,
hearing
but
that,
like
you know?
he doesn't understand that there's more than just him wanting a thing. Like she has to want it too.
Would you say that's a little bit of a cockiness or arrogance?
Yes.
I would too.
And like I didn't dislike Nasir until like later on,
Yeah,
I
same.
but I can also like I feel like he really kept the pressure on her because he wanted that outcome that he wanted.
Mhm.
And I don't think that that's fair. I think if somebody says to you, like, I don't want to have a relationship with you, then that's fair. And I know that there's times where people like, it's just not the right time. And then, like, after some
Yeah.
time, friends become your lovers or whatever. But, like, that is not the norm. And I don't think that like it makes sense for her to go with Nasir's dad because Alam has similar experiences. He can understand her. He understands himself, which I don't know if
Mhm.
Nasir does because he's so angry. Um, he can't possibly fathom what it's like to tragically lose somebody you love
Mm-hmm.
outside of losing his mother. He can't possibly understand that.
Right. Right.
And she's got a lot of grief and a lot of things that she's working through, and she's going to be working through them for a long time.
Right. So with the father, yes, he lost his wife, but sometimes it felt like he more so grieved the loss of that man more than the wife.
Explain.
The man that, what was the man's name? David or someone?
Oh, yeah, that man. I thought you were like being like the man that was him. Yeah, I mean, I
No,
think,
David. It felt like most of his, like his true current grief was the loss of that relationship that he saw a lot of potential in. I'm not saying he wasn't grieving his wife, but I feel like it was more of what he lost with David.
well, that was more recent. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that they do talk about a bunch about how you kind of learn to live with the grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he can have multiple grieves,
Yeah.
griefs, this is
Something like
things you're
that.
grieving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, but I feel like I think you're right. I think there was a lot of longing to be able to be the person he really is. And I wonder if that's why he was one hesitant, but then also when moved through the hesitancy was committed to Faye, even though
Mm-hmm.
it might destroy his family because he already gave up love once for them
Right.
and he's not
Right.
doing it again. And they don't have to be
Mm-hmm.
mutually exclusive things.
Absolutely.
Because how many times can you lose somebody? Like, how many sacrifices does this man have to make just to have his children not hate him?
His adult children,
Mm-hmm.
that's they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has every
The daughter's a
right.
whitey bitch. Anyway.
Yeah, she was not my fave, but the father has every right to seek the love that he wants. Um even though it's really hard. But I also found it interesting that he said that.
Hi. Sorry. Riverside said no.
Okay, you came back.
I came back. Riverside said you are not allowed to record. And I said, why?
Hang on, I have to refresh to continue recording.
Not going to lie. I don't like Riverside. I don't like Riverside for live recording. It's not my fave, anyway.
Okay, that was weird. All right. I mean, this has happened without going live before, so I don't know what that is. Are we still live or no?
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay.
We're still going.
Um
We're still going.
okay, just checking.
But yeah, what were we talking about? We're talking about the daughter.
Yeah, not our favorite person. Not our
Not
favorite.
our
Oh,
favorite
no, I
person.
was getting ready to say I thought it was interesting how he said that his wife was not unaware of his queerness.
Hmm.
So, I kind of I kind of wanted like just a little bit more insight into like how all that went down, because it was just like a blanket statement. Like, I've never hid who I am from my wife or my children. I just wanted like a little bit more of like what that was like during his marriage.
I wonder. Oh, my video is all screwed up. But I wonder if, I mean, there's plenty of people that where one or both partners are bisexual, and I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, like as long as your partner knows that you love them, I don't think it really matters. But yeah, it would be really interesting to get like a little bit more on how the relationship worked, a little bit like more
Yeah, like, was this something
background
that you
on the two of
discussed?
them together.
Yeah, like, was your queerness something that was discussed before you even got married,
Hmm.
or is it something that came about and was talked about in the midst of your marriage. You know what I mean? Was this a before
Yeah.
thing or like a later down the line thing?
Yeah. I don't know. Um, the camera is not working well for me. I'm like totally delayed. It's really annoying. Anyway,
Riverside, we don't
but
like this part.
I don't like this at all. Just so you know, Naomi, I'm not a
I
fan
don't
of
like it
this
either.
as for
It's throwing
streaming.
me off.
Um, but yeah, so I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
But I did like the book. Let
I
me
love the book.
I'm how do I leave and come back?
Should we?
No, because if we close, we're gonna close completely.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. Truthfully, I have no idea because it's you just
Yeah,
back
this is
to
throwing the
Rivers.
flow off because you're like, I can't tell what's happening.
I know, but I don't know what to do.
Me
Um,
neither.
you stay right there.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere.
All right. Excuse us, folks. We're having some technical difficulties using Riverside to go live on YouTube. We're trying to work it out. Trying to work it out.
I think it's better. Is it better? Is it better?
Say something else?
Hello.
Sort of.
I think my mouth is moving a little bit more with the
Yeah.
camera than it was
Yeah.
before.
It's just like a second off.
I don't know what else to do without it right now.
Yeah. It's better than it was before.
Okay, so hi, welcome to live recordings where
Yes.
shit
I've
doesn't
explained to
work.
them we're having technical difficulties. So,
We always have technical difficulties.
yeah.
This is like you shouldn't try a new recipe for a dinner party. I feel like that's what's happening right now.
No, I say try the things in the very beginning. So that way it's not like,
But that's a good segue to get us back here with the cooking. Okay.
the meals, just
I do
I
want to
mean,
say
I
like
wanted a great meal afterwards.
I did really want a good meal.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really loved about this, and it's something that you and I talked about a bunch on this podcast, is and it just in general is how so much of um, Black literature is about just like trauma and slavery and like
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of just really negative, sad things,
Mm-hmm.
which have a valid place in literature, but
Mm-hmm.
needs that balance of like regular stories. And like this
Yes.
was such a like beautifully done, just regular story that just
Yes.
happens to center a bunch of Black folk and a bunch of
Exactly.
different from a bunch of different places and
Yes.
lets them have like joy and sorrows
Yes.
and normal people problems. And
Mm-hmm.
I really really liked seeing it and I want more
Same,
of it.
same, and same. Yes,
Be-
absolutely.
because why can't everybody just get a story?
Right. Right. It was really lovely.
It was
I had to
super
read it
lovely.
again because I had read this so early on in the year, and didn't like really forget anything. And again, like Joy just gave me all the joy.
Joy is a really lovely character, and I like that Joy really pushes Faye to be outside of her comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that despite the fact that she was super confident, she had her own things that she was struggling with
Yeah.
having this relationship with a married woman. And
Yes. Married
so,
women.
yeah, but this one particular married woman was top
Mm-hmm.
of the list. And I just really liked that because sometimes I feel like that character can just be they're just there to boost up the main character. They don't get to have their own things. And it was nice that like Joy had her own stuff.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
made her real, I guess is what I'm saying.
I felt
She
like Joy
wasn't
was fully formed.
yeah, she wasn't just there to do a specific task or something. She really was a full character in
Yeah.
her own right.
She's so funny.
She was really
The
funny.
lines, she's just so funny.
Yeah.
Like I was just waiting for her to come back in a scene. I just really adored her. And I did feel like she was a true friend. And it
Mhm.
was also interesting too, like, oh, okay, they had a queer moment together as well. It's a
Yeah.
lot of queer moments in here throughout,
Yeah.
but also lovely that they were able to still maintain a real, true, solid friendship, although, they had this one moment and it didn't really, turn into anything, but
Mhm.
it didn't put them in a position where they can no longer be friends or they could not build a friendship from there.
Yeah.
They're really just lovely together as friends, and I just kind of love them. But Joy was
Yeah.
just a pure delight. Pure.
Yeah. I also like, speaking of things that like make things sort of more realistic. I like that Faye actually decides to go home and to take care of like her own stuff, and like
Yeah.
she doesn't just do the happily ever after thing. It's not like, oh sweet, like there are actual conflicts and actual things that like real people might do. It's a little bit more realistic
Mm-hmm.
in a totally not realistic way, because not most of us are not gonna get flown to some beautiful
Right.
island paradise and meet a beautiful silver fox and fall in love, but
Right.
but may we all.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
mm, mm.
Because I think you're right. I think the easy thing would have been to just stay there,
Yeah,
have Joy ship all of her stuff there.
yeah, just ship
Or
her
heck,
stuff.
she
Yeah,
would just get new stuff, because now she's a woman of means. And,
yeah.
just to stay there, just completely abandon her life before and just kind of move forward in this new place. That would have been the very easy thing to wrap up a story. So I'm with you. I like that the author kept it real,
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to go back home and they're going to face these new things as a couple together on her turf, whatever
Yeah,
that may entail.
yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was thinking,
I like you
do I
say
want
it's
a
going to be
part two?
interesting. Like we're getting a part two.
I know, I was like, do well, the both times I read it I was like, do I want a part two? And I was like, you know what, I don't want a part two.
No, you just want
I
them to
don't
live
want a part two.
happily in your head. You know that
Yeah.
they like go back, and
Mm-hmm.
they still love each other, and they build a life together, and it's
Yeah.
glorious and wonderful.
Yeah.
And Nasir gets over his stuff, and everybody goes to therapy,
Right.
and it's fine.
Now here's what I wouldn't mind,
Everyone
right?
goes to therapy.
I wouldn't mind if maybe in one of Akwaeke's, I don't know, maybe some novels down the road, perhaps Faye and the father reappear in one of those novels.
I think that would
Not
be
as a
nice.
main role, but just like
They
a
make a
somewhat of
little,
a in passing role where we get
yeah,
a teeny tiny snippet of where they are. That would be
yes,
lovely. Like a little
that would be
Easter egg
lovely.
of some sort.
That would be really, really
Mhm.
lovely. I would
Yeah.
enjoy that.
Yeah, but I don't want a part two because then I think a part two would then make it a very like tied up nicely with a pretty bow.
Yeah, and life isn't tied up nicely with a pretty
Right.
bow, and I think that's kind of the point about this, is that even when you tie like life up so nicely with a little bow, she met her husband when they were young. They knew they were for each other. They loved each other, and then he dies tragically, and
Tragically.
they were barely even married. Like she wrapped her life up with the little bow, and
Mm-hmm.
that got just crushed. So you can't
Mm-hmm.
just life doesn't work like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Life is
I
messy. Life is screwing your friend zone friend's dad.
yeah. I mean, but boy, didn't she give it to Nazir when he to the gallery and tried to F with her art? Oh man, she gave it to him good.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean,
He
like I
deserves
bet
it.
he was not expecting that. And it
Well,
was such a hard moment. Like, you don't even understand what you're doing. Like, do you know what that ring is? Like, it was just so deep. And
mhm.
like, oh, you've got to feel like a complete ass now, Nazir. Like, you don't even know what you tried to tamper with.
He is an ass. He is that nice guy that is constantly telling you he's the nice guy and like you should date him, but really he's manipulating you. He is like what, like 3 steps from being an incel, Naomi.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay?
yeah. And he borders on being an a-hole
Yeah.
if things don't go his way. If his little feelings are hurt, now he's an a-hole. So really, how
Yeah.
nice of a guy are you?
Not. He's not.
Yeah.
That
So,
reaction, like, you don't expect him to be like, "Oh, okay, you're screwing my dad." No, but like, you shouldn't be that like violent in your response, and that's the problem.
yeah,
And like, that's the thing. Like, even his dad's like, and like, that's not how you respond. It's like not appropriate. Like, yes, this is
exactly.
complicated and weird, but that is not what you do.
Exactly. No matter what. Like, this is the
Mm-mm.
wrong response regardless. This is not it.
Mm-mm. That's not how
Start
you respond
over.
to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. I really liked how rough those situations got. They were very like high emotion, and there was a point when Nazir was like really in his moment of rage. There was a moment where I thought, is he gonna kill one of them? Like for a moment, I
I
wondered
was
that.
really worried he was going to lay hands like pretty hard on her, and I'm
Yeah,
glad that he didn't. But I was,
yeah,
but I think that that says a lot because those moments, I think that some of I think there's probably a few people that are listening to this that have had that kind of moment where you, as a woman, have a man who's raging so hard around you that though they don't lay hands on you, your
yeah.
immediate thought is to think that they're going to. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that was like the first connection in my brain was to think back to some of those things. And it's, we don't all have an Alan who's going to walk in and say enough.
Exactly. Exactly. But like just in those quick moments, my brain just ran a couple of scenarios that were awful.
They
I
were
was like,
awful.
oh no, please don't have him kill Faye. And oh no, please don't have Nazir kill his father.
Yeah.
Now she has two major tragic losses. Like my
Yeah, she
brain
can't
just
stop.
went there for just like a quick minute. And I was hoping it didn't go down that path and it did it. And I was relieved.
Yeah.
Relieved.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone that way.
It sure as hell could have.
It could have gone that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
final thoughts?
My final thought is Akwaeke can do no wrong.
Agreed.
Um, I just think they're a phenomenal author. I think they have great imagination. I think they are fantastic storytellers. And I'm just so excited to see what they do next. Now, I do feel like I need to go back and read Freshwater.
I've never read Freshwater, and I would like to because it also came
Yeah.
up in this book that I was reading recently called, I always get it wrong. It's something like Before We Were Trans or When We Were Trans or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like a history of like gender and specifically um, trans folk
Yeah.
in the world. Across different cultures and stuff like that. And that book comes up specifically, I guess, her reaction to people reacting to that book
Mm.
and how sometimes people have a way of centering themselves into narratives that aren't their own narrative,
Oh,
essentially.
interesting. Okay.
Um, and like there is relating to something, and then there's because like you share a similar feeling or emotion, but they're completely different situations that have nothing to do
Mm-hmm.
with each other. But like you can relate to a text through some other channel, and that gives you greater understanding. And then there's using that to like sort of insert yourself and
Yourself.
erase the actual
Right.
narrate like story from existence. So I think that was some of the discussion that was I'm probably not wording that completely correctly, but like something like that. And so now I'm really intrigued to read that book because I would like to sort of see what all of that was about
Yeah.
because I've never read it.
I I read Freshwater early in 2020 and I listened to the audiobook at work, and I think that was a mistake. So I need to acquire the physical book and read it again. That's what I need to do. So thank you, Akwaeke, for this book because it really was
It's wonderful.
just delightful. So this was our November read. Our last read of the year is going to be Our Wives Under the Sea
I'm so
by
excited.
Julia Armfield.
I need to get my copy.
So grab a copy of this, read with us this month, We'll set up a discussion for that the beginning of January, and we're really excited. We're really excited to get into this one. This has been
Yes.
on the list, and we've been like geeking to
I
read it
have
and
been
talk about it.
waiting
Mm-hmm.
and waiting and waiting and waiting to read this
Yeah,
book.
yeah. So excited about that. All right, book rec time.
Book rec time. Oh, is it just like not out yet? Is that what it is? I
What
really
Our Wires
wanted
Under the Sea?
I wanted the paperback, but ooh, dude, Blackwell's has it for cheaper than what's that
I
place
noticed where
called?
I got it from.
Book Depository.
I told you I don't. I always use Blackwells. They're always slightly cheaper.
Well, I'm scared to buy anything right now after the whole debacle with my
Oh, don't
debit
be
card
scared.
this
You're
morning.
fine. Just order the damn book.
I
Get
gotta
it.
gas
And
before I go to my
I
mom's, so
think
I'll
I
order it
paid.
tomorrow.
I think this was like $9 and something.
It's
This
like
wasn't a lot.
16. It's 16.99 right now at Blackwell's.
Okay, get it.
Anyway, so do you have a book recommendation?
Boy, do I. Boy, do I. This is Deer Creek Live, A Reckoning of Memory and Murder in the Mississippi Delta by Beverly Lowry. Knopf, thank you so much for sending this book to me. Well,
Mm, I love when she does that.
listen, this book is wild, right? So let me just read a little bit of the back. So in 1948, in the most stubbornly Dixified corner of the Jim Crow South, society matron Idella Thompson was viciously murdered in her home, stabbed some 150 times,
Oh,
left face down in one of her bathrooms. Her daughter, Ruth Dickens, was the only other person in the house. She told authorities a black man she didn't recognize fled the scene, but no evidence of the man's presence was uncovered. When Dickens herself was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, the community exploded. Petitions pleading for her release were drafted, signed, and circulated, and after only 6 years, she was set free. The governor of Mississippi granted Ruth Dickens an indefinite suspension of her sentence. Listen, this story right here was nuts. And here's why it was nuts. What
why?
really blew my mind was what they let this daughter get away with. Okay? Let her go home and change her clothes before she like returned to the scene. They let her do a lot of things. They had the house cleaned. So basically they cleaned up all the evidence. She told the maid to wash her clothing. So like when they should have been collecting the clothes off of her, you know what I mean, to put in an evidence bag, they just let her go home and change her clothes because she said she wanted to get cleaned up before she went to the police station to, give the rest of her story. Nothing was really fitting. And what it just astounded me, like what they let this white woman do. Like, you were the only one there, ma'am. Your mother has been stabbed a bajillion times. They let you leave the scene of the crime and change your clothes. What in the world? Just a huge lack of following the rules and procedures to allow this woman to do what she wanted to do.
The audacity.
So the audacity. So when they
I
go to
don't even know.
collect her,
I don't think that I could even have been like who I. First of all, I wouldn't think I would. I would never stab my mother 100 and something times, no matter
okay,
how much she annoys me. So let's just take that right off the top of the thing here. But if I did, I
right.
don't think that I would have the balls to even ask to get cleaned up.
Ruth had a lot of balls. It was very much so. Her privilege really was just like in the forefront of all of her requests. Like she asked these things with every intention of being granted those things. Like there was no doubt in her mind that anyone would tell her no.
What year is this?
This is 1948. We're talking Jim Crow era. So when
I
they
mean,
do finally get around to like, we need to get her clothing for evidence, the maid hands them wet clothes because they've been soaking in a freaking tub for hours. Okay.
I don't think I could read this. I think your summation of it is enough. I don't need to be this angry.
It was. it was just fascinating. It was just so fascinating, like how they botched this whole thing. Like
But
it was unbelievable.
botch makes it seem like they had an intent not to screw it up. I think that they did exactly what they meant to do.
Well, there were so there's like different people in play. There was a little bit of botching, then there was a little bit of let's like let the white woman do what she wants to do. You know, like they took her word for it that it was a black man that did it. Period.
Well, because that usually works.
Right, that usually works. And
And I
then
say
like
works, not worked, because it probably still does, unfortunately.
right. But then there was a very chilling statement because like as we go through the story, you're having these encounters with people that knew Ruth and went to church with her or did things with her family. And this one woman said, you know, Ruth never smiles, like ever. And what when I read that, the chill that went down my spine was just like,
Mm-mm,
I just, you know what I mean? Like she
mm-mm,
never smiles.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
And also, like, I mean, her husband really thinks she didn't do it. You
What?
know, they're married, they have children. Like, yeah,
What?
you got to read this book. You
What?
you got you got to read this. Like, it's really a trip.
No way in hell.
It's
If
really
I
a
was
trip. Like
left alone
after,
with my mother, and then lo and behold, she's found and stabbed to death in a bathtub. There is no way in
yeah.
hell Jesus is going to believe me when I said, "Oh no, I didn't do it." No.
Not only that, when she's finally released from prison, she goes right back to like leading the Bible school at the
Of course.
church, doing things with the children. It's just like you you all just let her just
Mercy, are you climbing up
be
the
around
stairs?
your kids, and it was just so weird. It was this is a fascinating story. You just I think you have to read it.
I don't
I
know.
think
I
you
don't know
have
if I
to read
could.
it.
I don't know if I could. What's
Anyway,
it called again?
this is Deer Creek Drive: A Reckoning of Memory and Murder in the Mississippi Delta by Beverly Lowry. I mean, it really had my jaw on the floor. Give it a read. Thank you again, Kanal, for sending me this copy.
Now I feel weird making this my book for some reason, but I was gonna recommend we do this till we free us.
Perfect.
So, um, yeah, um, I finally finished this and read it, obviously. Um, and this is a collection of essays by Miriam Kaba about the abolitionist movement, and I we talked about this during our discussion with Hugh Ryan for the
Hmm.
Women's House Detention, and I know you had
And
already read it.
Akili from a
Yeah,
Black Man
I know
Reading.
that you had already read it, but I had not
Hmm.
yet, and so I finally got to it. I really wanted to get to it by the end of the year, and I'm really glad that I did. I think that one of the really important things about this book, well, I think there's a couple things that are really important. I think number one is the exploration of the ways systems fail people and
Mm.
how that is a major contributing factor in crime, however you define crime.
Yeah.
And two, the fact that how blatantly people are held to different standards depending on things like their color of their skin or simply their gender or a combination of the two, because if you're as allegedly if you're a black woman and you're protecting yourself from your spouse or partner, you don't have fear and it's not self-defense.
Hmm.
I don't understand how that occurs, but
Yeah.
apparently it does, because there were numerous
Yeah.
occasions where poor women are left in jail for years and years and years and years and years and years and years because they're protecting themselves. Whereas if I were to do it, I don't think anybody would question if I said
Right.
I felt unsafe. So I think those were really hard. That particularly was really hard for me
Hmm.
to swallow. I think because um, it's so just like commonly accepted that like if I the only way that I could get away with doing something harmful to another human being is under that umbrella of protecting myself from harm, and the fact that
Right.
other women are not given that same right to
Hmm.
protect themselves is just disgusting. And the second thing or third thing or whatever, the number thing is just actually having outlined sort of talking points, action points, demands,
Yes.
etc. for this very misunderstood, I feel like, movement. I feel like you can have a lot of sound bites that make it seem like you just want everybody, you're going to throw open the gates and like everybody runs
Exactly.
wild. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more to it than that. So actually reading the source material and seeing what people are talking about, and what the demands really are, it's really for an actual community based system that is trying to stop things before they get there. Because there's so many indicators for crime or being put in jail, and they are usually things that you can actually control by having other social structures in place. um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, there's still going to be outliers of people who do really terrible things, but that's not the majority of what's happening. The majority of what is happening and that is filling our prison systems are things that don't need to be in a prison system, and the prison
Mm-hmm.
system doesn't need to exist as it is. So yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, you all told me, and I read
Mm-hmm.
the book, and I'm mad
Yeah.
for all these poor women that are stuck or have been stuck.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting. It's incredibly upsetting.
Also, Miriam Kaba is kind of amazing, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Until I got that book last year, I didn't know anything about her.
And I think it's really interesting that she doesn't really want anything to be known about her. It's like
Mm-mm.
there's a couple different interviews in here where people talk about like, well, basically ask her, why are you writing yourself out of the narrative? And she's like, because I'm not really the point.
Right. Yeah.
It's not really like me. It's about
Mm-hmm.
the whole like kind of movement and everything.
Right.
And she's even like shocked at some point that like these young activists are wanting to meet her and work with her and are like impressed with her. She's like, but like why? like,
Right.
like I'm just an old lady. like,
We're impressed, ma'am. We're
you're kind of
impressed.
impressive, old lady.
Yeah. We're impressed.
hmm
And thankful for the work.
hmm
And the education of it all. This is a very new area for me,
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
oh, there also the other thing that was shocking to me and shouldn't have been shocking was this dropping off of people into rival gang areas just to have the gangs take care of people that you don't have the ability to take care of, because it's like
It's crazy.
you can't do, you want to do harm, because why else would you have left that child there, their children, most of them,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't because it would be wrong, but you found a loophole,
Right.
but you want me to what,
Yeah.
you want me to think that you're upstanding?
Yeah.
That's really hard to put together.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's a short, incredibly dense book that
Very
is a
powerful
must
though.
read. Yes. Yes.
Eye-opening, super informative and educational, and I
Yes.
wish more would read it so that when we hear these various sound bites
hmm
on, throughout social media or on the news, you actually know what they're really talking about, and you're not fooled or tricked into thinking this is some pie in the sky BS type of request.
Yeah. I mean, and there's things that I never really thought about because they're so commonplace. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do police officers do like wellness checks?
Mm-hmm.
How are you equipped to do that wellness check?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how you are.
Right. Yep. So many questions.
But it's kind of always been that way. So I never really was just like, what do? You call the police to do a wellness check. I've called them on
Mm-hmm.
people before. I've called them on patients when I worked outpatient.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. It's a fantastic recommendation.
It's a really good book.
Mm-hmm. Read it after you read this.
I don't know if I can read that book, Naomi. I think I'm
You
gonna be
have
so
to.
mad.
You have to, because you're gonna be like, did they just let her what? It is going to blow your mind. You're just gonna be like, how are they effing this investigation up so poorly? You have to read it. You have to read it.
It also sounds like, you know what would be a good pairing? That book and the trees.
Oh. Mm.
Because all these, other bureau like officers, all
Yeah.
these other people come into this little Mississippi town, and the
Huh.
Mississippi cops are totally buffoons and botching everything.
Yes. It's so bad. It's so bad. I'm laughing because like there's so much absurdity in this book.
Yeah.
Just so much.
But it's just so sad because it's, I don't know, we talk about this often. Like, there's this, I don't know, it's, I wish that I could go back and fix everything, and obviously you can't. And
Right.
going forward and fixing stuff is such a long and arduous uphill battle. But like,
For
it's just,
sure.
and you're just stuck here in the present, like, sad. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know a different way of saying it. It's just, there's this, it's almost like wanting to move and not being able to. Like,
Yes. Yes,
it,
that's
it
exactly what that feels like.
it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And the fact that people want us to not learn about these things is really
Oh,
the
just
thing that's
working
the
so
most
hard.
upsetting, because it's like, I get that it doesn't speak to your narrative, but stop. Like, just
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in for this live with all of our technical issues. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a lot more lighthearted than the last
Very
two
much
books.
so. Very
Read
much
this.
so. Yeah.
Read this for sure. It's so good.
Yes.
I loved it. I
Yes.
loved it so much. And thank you for having Atria send me an arc of this.
Yes. It was nice of them to come back and ask us if there was anyone that we would like them to send a copy to. They don't always do that, but this time they
Yeah.
did. And I was like, I know who needs to read this with me. Thank you.
And I loved it. Thank you.
Yes. And get your copies of Our Wives Under the Sea so you
I
can read
will
that
after
with
I
us
get
for this month.
gas. Maybe tonight when I get home, I will order it so that in
Yes.
case they decide to shut down my account again for Christmas related fraud,
Hmm.
I'm going to have gas in my
Yes.
car.
Exactly.
And I can deal with the fraud things tomorrow and lose another hour of my life then.
Exactly. Well, this was a interesting ride. We've recorded a lot, and now we have other things to do. So thank you all for tuning in.
Yes, please remember to like and subscribe to this little channel. I'm
Yes.
gonna start blasting out the link to this YouTube over on my channel, and we'll blast it out everywhere. But yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Thanks for tuning in. See you later. Bye.